I love to play roguelike/roguelites, and I'll explain why. But first, roguelikes. Where did it come from? What does it mean? Let's start with one of the first original concepts of the rogue genre. Beneath Apple Manor. It's the definition of a rogue game, but it's not called rogue. You might be wondering why I keep saying rogue. Well, it's not technically the first one to do it, but it's the one that takes the spotlight and became the genre title for future games. I'm not sure why that is, but my guess is that people just liked it better. Now we are done with the little history lesson, let me explain what a roguelike/roguelite means. Roguelike. Permadeath, procedurally generated maps, and turn-based combat. Roguelite. Takes fundamentals of roguelike, but blends it with other genres and has meta progression sometimes. Taking into account of these definitions, let's look at some roguelike games. What better game to look at first than The Binding of Isaac Repentance? It's not the first game of Ed McMillan that touched on the rogue genre, but The Binding of Isaac Repentance is the updated version of Rebirth, which was based off of just The Binding of Isaac. I'll just start by saying this. I think that this game should be what future roguelikes should be like. Let me explain. It's a very simple concept: go into a room, take out enemies, go to boss, next floor, repeat. But it's more complex than that. The Binding of Isaac gives power to the player through the items that you pick up during a run. These items have different qualities that range from 0 to 4. I'm not going to get too specific, but a 4 quality means the item is really, really good. Each item you pick up will have different effects on your character and other items you've picked up. You can get items after boss fights, item rooms, secret rooms, and random drops like chests and obstacles like rocks and pots. This game adds a heavy emphasis on items and synergies. Because of that fact, you can have so many different ways of going through a run, and the next run might be just as good or worse. There are also so many characters you can play as with alternative versions of themselves, which adds a little challenge. There are challenges as well that can be very difficult and take many tries to complete. There are hours on hours of replayability in this game that can be very fun and enjoyable, especially if you end up having a run like this one. There are multiple end bosses and endings, though I hold this game close to my heart because I would play it for hours and just have fun getting overpowered and just play. That's why I think future roguelike games should be like this, because it can be very challenging, but if you have enough knowledge about it, then you can just become overpowered and one-shot game bosses. Okay.
Let me crash my game one more time. Yeah, it actually didn't crash.
But I know that wouldn't be the best for every new roguelike game, so it'll never happen, which is perfect because we get games like Darkest Dungeon. But the second one is the one I'll be talking about specifically. I really enjoy playing this game, as frustrating as it is. This is a very, very difficult game with a lot of RNG involved. You get a group of 4 people together and have to have your group survive to defeat the confession boss at the end of the road which leads to the mountain. This is also a turn-based game, with each enemy and ally with their own speeds, which determines their turn order, but there are so many different small mechanics that you have to keep track of. I'll name a few. There is a stress meter, your torchlight, loathing meter, characters' health and relationships, resistances, etc. It's a very difficult game, but that's what makes it so fun. Unlike The Binding of Isaac though, you can't necessarily be overpowered by items, but the group you have, and the way you go about taking out groups of enemies.
Chapter 3.
There are 9 different characters you can use with an extra 2 from DLC. Each character have skills which can be unlocked from shrines that can be found during runs.
No longer has meaning. If indeed it ever did.
Darkest Dungeon 2 has meta progression, with its candles of hope which are obtained from completing runs, whether everyone dies or the confession boss was defeated. Every time you defeat the end boss though, you can add memories to the characters that beat the boss, which adds a semi-permanent buff with 5 total that can be added, but if that character dies, then you lose the memories.
Yeah, baby!
Burying your furies.
Yeah!
But in thinking they would accept such a...
Darkest Dungeon 2 does have replayability, but it's entirely dependent on your will to play it. Each run can take multiple hours to get through. Even with all that, there is a real charm to this one with the narrator's words and voice to the specific art style that Red Hook Studio has. I would still recommend it if you are looking for a challenging game to play with replayability, though I don't have anything to note when it comes to the relevance of the first Darkest Dungeon. I just know that I like the second one better. Since this game is slow though, maybe something a little more fast-paced is up your alley. Maybe it needs to be more chaotic.
Each milestone.
This is Deadlink. Something pretty different than the other 2 games I talked about. Well, The Binding of Isaac can get intense with its bullet hell aspect. I still don't think I would consider it fast-paced as much as Deadlink. It's fast and intense and stuff can get pretty crazy. Though you are able to get pretty powerful in this game, which makes it pretty fun, and it feels smooth to play. As long as you keep up with the pace of many things happening at once, then it adds to the fun. You go from room to room defeating enemies and getting to the end. And at the end of every area is a boss, much like Binding of Isaac. Since this game is based in a cyberpunk world, to upgrade and do better in the run, you are given cybernetic implants that use battery power to have their active ability in use, which requires an action corresponding to the ability you applied it to. There are also shells and weapon mods that you can get during a run to upgrade your abilities or main weapon and secondary weapons. There are different difficulty levels and different modes you can play. Those modes are Endless, which is a wave-based mode, and there is a time trial mode to get through a set course within a specific time frame to get bronze, silver, or gold medals. There are 4 characters, also known as combat shells, that you can choose from, and they all have their own type of abilities. With all the fun movement, satisfying gameplay, destructive power, difficult enemies, cel-shaded art style, endless mode, time trials, upgrades, and more, there is high replayability and it makes you want to play more. This game also has meta progression, where you have two types of currency to use to permanently upgrade Shell's abilities or just the run itself. In conclusion, there are a lot of really fun and great indie roguelike games out there, and that is just the surface of what's to come. There are many fantastic roguelike games like Voidigo, Enter the Gungeon, Spelunky 2, Balatro, Risk of Rain 2, Slay the Spire, Going Under, and so many more. I didn't get into too much detail with the games I talked about because I recommend you play them for yourself if you haven't already, and the joy of a new game is discovering new things about it. Roguelikes have so much potential for replayability, and that's why I like them so much. With the ability to have skill-based gameplay, it's just all around fun. Who doesn't want to just have fun? If you've already played roguelike games before, what are some of your favorites in the comments below? Also, I'll probably be doing specific videos for Darkest Dungeon 2 and Dead Link by themselves, so just keep that in mind, and subscribe if you don't want to miss them. Perched precariously in the murky gloaming. Oh, jeez. Glow. Oh, gloaming is such a tough word to say. There, up ahead. That is where they'll make their move. Okay, I'm done.